Welcome to the Mario Marchesi podcast. I want to just start off by saying that true identity is found in Jesus. I want to read off of 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, and it says, "But you are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he has called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." Now, my generation is currently going through an identity crisis, and I think this is no secret. If you have social media, the first few seconds you spend on social media seeing reels or seeing the posts of people's tweets or anything like that, you can see that this generation has an identity crisis. I believe that people who have an identity crisis just want the feeling of belonging to something. They want to belong to a community. They want to belong to a people. They want to belong to a group. And I believe that the error that's being committed is that the desire to feel like we belong somewhere is driving us to a place to look at ourselves and highlight certain aspects, highlight certain characteristics of ourselves, and making that our entire personality, making that our entire personhood. And I believe that this can be very dangerous. We look at things like our sex, our sexual preferences, our race, our opinions, our culture, and then we look for places or people that align with our desires, that align with things that we have identified in ourselves that we want to highlight, and we align ourselves with our desires to feel that sense of belonging. People have allowed their heterosexuality, their homosexuality, their skin color, their political party, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, they've allowed their disbelief, their religion, the fact that they are a little more liberal, a little more left-leaning, the fact that they're a little more conservative, a little more right-leaning. People have allowed all these different things to become everything that they are. And I believe this is a huge mistake. But the question that we should really be asking ourselves is, what's my purpose? What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of my life? But I know that even before asking these two questions, what's my purpose or what's the meaning of life, that as an individual, we first must accept the premise that there is purpose, that there is a meaning in life. And I know that there is a lot of people who don't even accept that premise, but that's a topic for another day. If you are the kind of person who believes, or at least wants to believe, that there is a purpose in life, that there is a purpose and a plan for what you are going through, then I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, why am I here? Why do I do what I do? What is my purpose? What is my meaning? And I know and I understand that these questions that we've just asked ourselves actually opens up many avenues and routes for us to take. But allow me to present you a follow-up question to those questions. And it is this: if there is a purpose, and I personally believe that 100% there is purpose, that's my personal conviction. The question becomes, then who has the capacity to answer the why question? Who has the capabilities to answer the purpose question, the meaning question? I first must understand, before asking these questions, and as we ask ourselves these questions, we need to understand that we didn't create ourselves. I didn't create myself. So can something or someone that has been created answer the question of purpose of said creation? No. Something that is created cannot answer the question of purpose for that creation. Only the creator can answer the question of purpose of the creation. But now this opens another premise that you must accept to continue down this road. And it is that there is a creator of this universe. And it is that there is a creator of the planets, stars, creatures, and humans. And once you accept that the premise that there is a creator, the question then becomes, who is this creator? And if you're here with me up until this point, and you've asked yourself all of these questions where what is purpose? You accept the premise that there is purpose. Then you accept the premise that there is a creator, and the creator is the only one that can answer that question for the creation. If you are there with me, allow me to present you the only figure in history that has lived, that has made an astounding claim. That person is Jesus. We find that claim in John 14:6, where Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Now, when Jesus claims this, and now this is presented to you at this moment, if you're listening, now this claim has been presented before you. Us as individuals only have two options when we hear Jesus say these words. The two options is either you accept it or you deny it. But if you're anything like me, when anyone makes such a big claim, saying that they are the way, they are the truth, and they are the life, and further down in John 14, he continues to say that he's the only way to the Father, he's the only way to heaven, making a huge claim. I like to look into that a little bit further before I make my decision. And a key detail to understand is that the Holy Bible is not just a simple book. It's not just, the Holy Bible, the book. No, the Holy Bible is 66 books with over 40 authors, written within a time span of around 1,500 years. All stories, all prophecies of real men and women leading to one person. That person is Jesus. Jesus who died and on the third day resurrected, with over 500 eyewitness testimonies and historians who documented his death and also documented events of Jesus after his death. That is an important detail to understand about the Bible and about who Jesus is. But right now, I want to take a pause, because you may be asking yourself, like, what does this have to do with identity? Like, what does any of this have to do with my identity as an individual? It has everything to do with your identity, because Jesus has a lot to say about who you are and what your purpose is. But if you don't believe in him, or not even just believe in him, I want to take it a step further. If you don't believe what he says, you will be living a life where you're going to be looking into places, you're going to be looking into people to tell you who you are, that you should give in to your desires and wants. But at the end of the day, you're going to be living an unfulfilled life because you're not doing what you were created to do. You're not doing what you were created to do. You're not living a life of purpose. Now, if you don't know this about me, and if you know me, you already know this about me. But if you don't know this about me, I'm registered as a Republican. When I go vote, I do identify myself with more conservative traditional values. And a good friend of mine who knows this asked me this question the other day. He asked me, what if God asked you to denounce that? Like, what if God asked you to denounce, the conservative, traditional, or Republican, whatever the case? What if God asked you to denounce all that? And my answer was this: that before any title I may receive, before anything I may identify myself with, before any of that, before all of that, I am first and foremost a follower of Jesus. My likes and my dislikes don't control me or define who I am. The person who controls me and defines who I am is Jesus. My sexuality doesn't define who I am. Jesus does. At the end of the day, the government is full of people who claim something and does another thing. So my faith cannot be placed on man or on government. My faith cannot be placed on what I want or what my desires are. And I will venture to say that a lot of us have been in places where what we wanted in that specific moment has caused us more harm than good. You wanted something in a moment. You thought that that person was meant for you, or you thought that the thing you wanted to do was going to make you feel better. But at the end of the day, the thing that you desired in your heart, the thing that in your mind thought that was going to be good for you, actually caused you more harm than good. I'll venture to say that everyone has been in a place like that. So I'd rather trust in the person who created me. I'd rather put my faith in the person who knows why he created me. The Republican Party is full of people who claim to be Christians or who claim to defend the Christian faith, but they don't live according to Jesus' commands. When you look at their daily lives, they don't live according to what Jesus commands us to live. The Democratic Party is full of people who just completely dismiss and disrespect the Christian faith. People who directly identify with their sexual preferences are full of pride and lack self-control. People who identify with their culture are people who idolize tradition. People who identify with their political parties place their faith in the wrong people. And my invitation is this. I invite you to accept the identity in which God created you with and live according to his purpose. Now, this is a journey of a lifetime. This is not something that we will perfect from night and day. This is a journey of a lifetime where you have a relationship with God. You read the Bible. You get to know Jesus. And through that journey, you see God's plan be unfolded right before your eyes. You see God's purpose in your life every single day. But it is something that takes commitment. It is something that takes a lot of self-control, because our natural inclination is just to do things that we want. Do things that our flesh desires. Do the things that we think is best for us. But the question is what we think is best for us what God thinks is best for us? And if the answer isn't yes, then we must align ourselves to God's plan. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for good, plans for a bright future." We must ask ourselves these questions on a daily day, at least if you're the type of person who wants to live a life of purpose, who wants to live a life that is according to God's word, that wants to live a life with meaning, not just going out and winging it. But if you want to be that type of person, you must ask yourself those questions. The questions of, what is my purpose? The questions of, who has the capacity to actually answer that question? Like, who can actually answer that question? And not only who can answer that question, but is the answer, will it be sufficient? We live in a society that is constantly preaching for us to just follow our heart, for us to just follow what we want. But, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I've been in a place where I follow what my heart wants, and it has caused me more harm. It has caused more trauma. It has caused more hurt than it has caused good in my life. So I don't want to trust what my flesh wants. I don't want to trust just simply what my mind thinks, what my feelings tell me. I don't want to trust any of that. I want to trust in the person who created me, because I know that I was created. You have to be able to at least accept those premises to be able to ask these questions. And if you're the type of person who doesn't accept those premises of purpose, or don't accept the premise that you were created, then my question is, how do you live life? How are you living life? Every day that you wake up and you get ready, why? Every day that you wake up and you do something, or when you feel the inclination to help the needy, where does that come from? And a lot of people may answer, it's just in our nature to help people, or it's just something that I do, which to me is a cop out. To me is an escape to look into where morality comes from, to look into where purpose comes from, to look into mercy, to look into love. Where do all those things come from? Where does charity come from? If your answer is I don't know, or if your answer is you don't want to, do you think it just comes from us, then that's a weak answer. And I invite you to look deep into those questions of where do these things come from. Now, don't look at people, because people have been horrible examples of what true love should be, of what true mercy should be, of what true compassion should be, of what true charity should be. Don't look at people. I invite you to look at God. I invite you to look at the example of Jesus. Now, this concludes today's episode. If you want to continue to support this podcast, follow me on Instagram and X under the Mario Marchesi. You can listen through Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you have any thoughts or you want me to speak on specific topics, please send me an email at the mariomarchesi@outlook.com. That's again, the mariomarchesi@outlook.com. If you have any suggestions, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, if you want me to speak on specific topics, feel free to go ahead and send me an email. And again, I just want to end this episode by saying this. Your true identity is found in Jesus and no one else. Have a blessed day.